guys, how y'all doing? Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to everyone around the world. Welcome back to another One Piece video featuring your boy Blue Crocodile. Come back at you guys with an update to the build, let alone some little local update as well from when I went last weekend. We'll talk about it as we start playing our games and stuff. We decided to go 3-2. We'll talk about our matches, deck changes here, and all that sort of thing as we play the game here today. Now, this deck right here will change drastically, and I will show you and talk about it at the end of the video at that point. But I want to talk about my matches, how I feel about it, how I did, and all that sort of thing. But with that being said, I did enjoy this. We had a great time. Our locals on Sunday was 43, 44 people. So on average, we see no less than 30 on Sundays, generally. Last Sunday, again, was 44 people, so we had 5 rounds, I believe. There would have been a little bit more, I think, but we had a lot of people just drop out and go home and all that sort of thing. But it be what it be. In any case, let's go and dive into some games. Now, before we dive into today's video, I do want to reach out and talk to you guys about a sponsor here, in which One Piece fans reached out and wanted to know if I wanted to do a little collab. And, of course, I couldn't say no. Because at the end of the day, we all love One Piece. And if you guys are interested in apparel, bomber jackets, hoodies, sweatpants, tanks, boxers, socks, I don't know, man, cell phone cases, backpacks, figurines, all that sort of thing, this is a very, very nice place to come and check some stuff out. And what really stood out to me, which I'm a sucker for, dude, I love figurines. No matter what, the statues, whatever you want to call it, I have so many of these from different animes. But how cute is this, man? Luffy on a pillow, which is also like a nightlight. It's so fire. You got Zoro on a 4-clover leaf. You got Brook, who's on a music note, asleep, by the way, which it's so cool, man. But other than that, you have yourself your little clothing here with your sweatshirts, your sweatpants, your varsity bomber jackets. Yeah, bomber jackets, that's right. You got your Law, your Uta. You got Frankie, you got Wano Luffy, Zoro from Wano as well. Dude, I am so excited for this. Let alone, next month, they're going to have a lot more stuff as well, so stay tuned for that. There's rugs, puzzles, nightlights, all that sort of thing here. Rugs are coming, which I'm very excited for. You got your Devil Fruits and Wanted posters. Let me show you something that's really, really unique, which I haven't really found anywhere else. I've seen Pokemon versions of advent calendars. We all have, let's be honest. But when it comes to One Piece, this is something I'm a sucker for. And for those of you out there that collect figurines and all that sort of thing, to be able to just open one of these individual boxes or doors each and every day to get a figurine, that's really cool. I mean, unfortunately, I can't wait. I kind of just break into it, but you know, each their own. But either way, here's some of the figurines that you can get inside the box, in which we will be doing a box opening here soon, so I can show you guys in real time as well. But I'm super excited for this. For those of you out there who are interested, there's a link down in the description below. But either way, without further ado, let's dive into some games here. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Diving into another game, coming at you guys again with Crocodile, playing against Sakazuki, apparently. In any case, I don't know how long this game is going to be. Unfortunately, this is going to be 2 control decks playing against one another. And it's not very exciting, but this is what we have in the format right now. Sakazuki's all over the place. In any case, talk about our last local event when it came to playing with Crocodile. We're just going to do a little bit of story time here, have a good time, try to beat this guy, and see what we can do in the following matches. In any case, so it's like 44 people, and our first match of the day, we get in there, we get paired up against NNL. Very, very amazing player. He's generally there almost every locals that we go to. This is at Gaming Giant down here in Virginia. And he's a very, very good player. Like, he generally plays yellow decks. Sometimes he'll come in and play off-meta things like Arlong or what have you. I'm always very excited because I do know I'm going to have a good match with him. And again, he played NL. In most cases, it's a very good matchup, considering you're not worried about the 10-cost Big Mom. But in NL's case, it can be very, very difficult, considering the fact that they can just drop this 7-drop NL, and you have no answer for it. As Crocodile, you cannot bottom deck it unless you see a red rock, right? And then you have to attack into it. So if he plays that on curve, right? And on your following turn, you're like, okay, cool. If I red rock it, he'll save it with his life. Okay, that's how it works, generally. You can't Borsalino it, obviously, because it's 7-drop. You can't really Mihawk it because it's going to stay alive. And if you do Mihawk it, you have 1 Dawn left to go up to 6k. You can't attack into it. So it's very hard to play around that as Crocodile. I'm still working on it. I do think NL is a very hard matchup for this deck, but I'll find a way around it to see how I can perform better with it. In any case, we did take the L, so that's fine. We lost our first game versus an L. It's not really a huge deal. We go into our second matchup, and we play against a red-purple Luffy. Red-purple Luffy playing into Crocodile is kind of a nightmare. Not for you, but for them. Because you guys have all the tools in the deck to bottom deck every single thing. Everything that they play on board, which kind of makes it a little bit feel bad. It makes you feel bad a little bit for the red-purple Luffy player. Because you're ready with the red rocks. And if you don't have them, you get to search off of the Doflamingo and or the X-Drake if you go into curve. The ideal situation would be if you go first, you're dropping Dofi first, right? Essentially. And your Dofi is going to look for your X-Drake if you can find it in the stack. Rearrange it. So for your on curve, you play the X-Drake. X-Drake gets you, give or take, like a Red Rock or 3,000 Worlds, whatever you need in that scenario. Ideally, you want that Red Rock. If you don't have a Borsalino already in hand, that way on the following turn, you can draw the Red Rock, put Borsalino after the Red Rock on top of the deck, and or Sogeking, right? That way you can bottom deck their Whitebeard, because by this point they should have enough Dawn to play Whitebeard, considering the nature of the deck can ramp things. And you're ready with the Red Rock, so you bottom deck that. This is, like I said, the idealistic scenario, which is not hard to meet the requirements with Crocodile. You find Dofi, you go on bot the day. Unfortunately, he ended up playing 2 Whitebeards back to back to back, right? And we bottom decked both with no problem. It's not that the deck itself is bad or you're bad. It's just like, it's a very favorable matchup for the Crocodile because that's what we strive in. We strive in control. We're ready for it. So we do take the W on that one. We move on to the third game and we play against a purple Luffy, which ideally should be no problem, right? It should be easy because, you know, control. We got the red rocks. We're ready for the Kaidos to come down. But what you don't remember is the fact that purple Luffy also play with Magellan. Some people, for some whatever reason, don't run Magellan in their list. Forget about it. He's a real threat. So in your opener hand, you know this going into the matchup. You're gonna run into a Magellan. That's just the way it's gonna be. So you're mulliganing for your 3,000 worlds for at least one red rock. You know what I mean? For a Dofi. You have to have a very solid hand going into this matchup, considering the fact they can take their life. They can ramp up early. They play anywhere between 12 to 16 2Ks. My list runs 16, so I don't really expect any other list to run under 12 for the nature of the deck. Now, the downside to this is you don't know what you're going to draw for your opener hand. So whatever you get for the first time, it might be bad. In my case, it was awful. So we mulligan the hand, thinking we'll get something a little bit better. You know, that's just the nature of the game. He cuts the deck, and I get 3 Missile Sundays. A 3,000 world, and I think it was a 2K counter. And I'm like, all right, now what do I do? Because at this point, starting off with that opener hand, you're done. If you don't find yourself an X-Drake, it's over. Because by the time, if you go first in that matchup, by the time it comes back to you, if you don't draw into that Dofi, which probably not going to happen, but if you do, great. But if you don't, you're in a whole lot of trouble. Because all you can do is go 8K to the opponent, and generally they take the first hit, right? If it's an 8K, they're not going to drop 2K counters most of the time. If they do, oh well. But generally they take the hit. So at that point, they get the life, and then they get their draw card. So they clap back at you with possibly a Magellan at this point. You know what I mean? Because they ramp up. And if that's the case, you lose a Dawn, come into your following turn, you're not dropping X-Drake, it ain't happening. You're not ready for it. So if you don't have 3,000 worlds, you're not bottom decking the Magellan. So we did take the L on that one, unfortunately. it wasn't, like I said, there wasn't very much else you're going to be able to play off of that. You don't have the Red Rocks. You can't really just drop the Missile Sundays without Red Rocks, without 3K Worlds in your hand. It's just not going to happen because she's just going to go immediately to the trash with no value. It's not a good time. Our third match, we go into a Zoro. Zoro can be a nightmare. In this situation, Zoro goes wide, right? And what, our meta right now? He pretty much goes wide. It's not necessarily tall because we're not really seeing a whole lot of Marco Whitebeard variants. It's just easily drop 1-drops, Sanjis, Buggies, go up to 7K, smack you. And with Blue Crocodile, it can be hectic, especially if you guys don't see Dragon Twister. Dragon Twister was a very, very good card in the last 4.5 when Blue Croc came to dominance, right? Because everything got nerfed, like red cards and all that sort of thing. So coming back into this one with all the cards unrestricted for red, Zoro is still going wide right now. And we don't see Zoro as often as we did before because a lot of other decks are doing very, very well right now. But when you do see a Zoro or a Bello Betty, Dragon Twister is a very, very good card to consider. Bello Betty is a very fun deck. It's very popular. It's out there at locals. It's doing numbers. It's a high roll. It does very, very well in this format. Zoro can still do really, really well as well. Playing into a Sakazuki, playing against an Enel, it can still do really good. Playing against Katakuri. Now, at the end of the day, when it comes to Blue Croc, I feel like, if you don't see your Dofi blocker, you don't see your X-Drake blocker, you can have a hard time. They can easily remove them with, jet pistols and all that sort of thing. So that's something you also got to consider. So another card that's very, very good for you is running Dragon Twister. Because on attack, when they hit you, you go up to 9K, right? Which is great. And then you just bottom deck a small unit on their board, which again, usually it's like a 1 to a 2 drop. So you got options. We end up picking up the W there. Going to our final game, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we're going to our final game, and we play off against another red purple Luffy. Now, hats off to him. He's a fantastic player. I love watching his content. I love when he comes out to Gaming Giant. UniX TCG. If you haven't followed him, you haven't subbed to him, please do. Amazing guy, amazing content creator. We sat down at the table and we just knew by what was happening when it came to the decks here, this is going to be a fun time. Like, you guys voted me in to play Crocodile. His Patreon voted him into playing Red Purple Luffy. It was a very fun match, man. Like, it was hands down, it was amazing. But at the same time, when it comes to Blue Crocodile, again, in that matchup, we're really just looking for our removal tools. Our Red Rocks. And I ended up Red Rocking him twice, unfortunately. And at the end of the day, we toss it up. We get the W in that match. And it's interesting to me, simply for the fact that Blue Croc does great into both Luffy variants. He does well into Sakazuki. It's a nutrition game when it comes to playing against this deck right here, right? It is. It comes down to a nutrition game. Because our bodies that we play on board are generally Dofi and X-Drake. We don't really have a lot of, I'm going to slap down this 5K or this 5-drop 7K and smack you. We don't have a lot of that sort of thing. We don't have a lot of vanillas. We're playing blockers and that's it. So Sakazuki's strategy is just to minus something and remove it with Lucci. But if we're playing down 1 to 2 cards with Crocodile or any deck, they don't get a lot of value with dropping down Lucci, just killing one thing. You know what I mean? So we kind of take this matchup pretty slow, and it comes down to an attrition thing, because once we get to the point where we can just start dropping our big boys, our Mihawks, our Kaidos, it gives them a lot of a harder time. It's not a deck that they're going to constantly keep drawing cards, unless they're running Sanji's Pilaf or the 10-drop Kaido that allows them to draw 4 cards. But we get stomped out usually by like Katakuri, right? To be fair, most decks get stomped out by Katakuri. It's just, it is what it is. I'm happy to be one of you, right? To be fair. So when we do play against those matches, it's always an uphill battle. Everything else feels somewhat winnable if you're ready for it. And in this case, we were ready to play against aggro decks, be it Bello Betty, be it Zoro. We did have the Dragon Twister. We knew Luffy's are going to be everywhere. So we're good into those. Sakazuki is going to be at 50-50, usually. Usually he takes it, unless you play bad, right? So you have your favorable matchups. But then you have the matchups in which you usually lose against. Enel and Katakuri, which are everywhere. With that being said, I do enjoy playing Blue Crocodile. I think he's actually really, really good into this format. He does well. But on everybody's tier list out there, I'm not one to sit here and create tier lists. I'm not one to, cause chaos in the community or opinions and all that sort of thing. That's not me. I'm here to give you guys deck profiles, gameplays, all that sort of stuff. I'm not going to be like, yo, don't play this deck, it's bad. Nah. I'm out here doing deck profiles for decks that are quote-unquote off meta or decks that are on meta and really good. I'm not going to tell you guys don't play something because it's terrible. That's not how it's going to work. Because at the end of the day, I went to another small locals yesterday, a place that we don't normally go to. So we decided to go out there. It's like an hour and 15 minutes away from us. So I get there, right? There's 18 people, including me. There was the smaller locals here. This wasn't a typical one that we normally go to on Sunday. So it was smaller locals. And the games haven't started yet. But I get in there and I see there's a newer player there I haven't seen before. There's new players in One Piece come out, all the time. But you could tell this guy was a new player. Okay, I'm watching him play, and he's playing against a Sakazuki. All right, he's playing Ace, and this isn't like your run-of-the-mill with Marcos, you get your Fire Fist, all that. The normal Ace stuff. It's not one of those style decks. It's literally just a bunch of cards that he could find. Right, he's a new player, boys and girls. A bunch of cards that he could find and slap into the deck. That's what he did. I think that was his second time coming, if I remember that he told me. So he's completely new, still learning the game. Every card he would put on the board, what would happen? Sakazuki would remove it, bottom deck it. Which, I get it. The deck's great. It's fantastic. It's one of the highest win rated decks in the game right now in OPO5. So it does really good at what it can do. But at the end of the day, for a new player to come into the game as it is now and have to play against Sakazuki pretty much everywhere they go when it comes to locals, it's pretty discouraging for new people. Now, I'm not bashing the deck. I love it. I think it's great. I'm a control player at heart, so it is what it is. But for a newer player to come into a game not knowing very much about One Piece, so how else do they play? There isn't necessarily like an app on your phone where you can play. This isn't Hearthstone. This isn't MTG Arena. You know what I mean? The only way they would know about this is if they go to the locals where they're looking up information, they find the sim on Reddit, all that sort of stuff, right? But for a new player, they hop into a local event. All right, cool. Let's go meet some new people, learn about the game. And they sit down and they play Sakazuki. It's like, bro, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? That's all you can say. It's like, I'm sorry. Because they don't get any interaction with you whatsoever. They play down a card and they're like, oh, cool, man. I can't wait for the next turn. I'm gonna attack him, do this, and that. And Sakazuki's all like, nah, bro, Rob Lucci. They don't even get a chance to know what the card does. It's just like, your cards are dead. It feels bad. It's just one of those things where you create a card such as Sakazuki who doesn't have like the most busted leader effect or anything. No, it's not about the leader effect. It's about the interactions with the colors and the card that the card can do. Keep in mind, Moby Dick is still banned for Whitebeard, right? And I think at this point, everybody who either plays Sakazuki or plays against Sakazuki is tired of one or the other. You know what I mean? So perhaps at Nationals, maybe he'll win by a landslide. Like, that's just what I hope. And if that's the case, Bandai can possibly be like, oh man, these numbers aren't too good. Sakazuki's outperforming every other deck. Let's do the thing. You know, because again, we are on two different metas. Well, we were on two different metas between us and overseas. Now we're all on the same. But both nationalities, both places pick up different decks, find different strategies. Something works over there that doesn't work over here, vice versa. It's just a possibility that some cards get restricted. Who knows? And as a whole, for the game, that could be a good thing. It could be. Especially if it gets restricted to a point where you can't have so many of just those certain cards in one deck. You know what I mean? Because that would cut down the amount of removal that deck can do versus every other deck in the format. But hey, I mean, we're just consumers who love One Piece, who love playing the game. That's just a hot take. It be what it be. But either way, if you guys have been paying attention here, we are really we're doing well here. Just like I said, it comes down to a nutrition thing here. We've got the 6-drop Law in hand. The man's got about 9 cards over there. We got 10-drop Kaido ready to go. We end up dropping 2 blockers down here because if we decided to drop Law at this point, I didn't feel safe. If I decided to drop Kaido at this point, I didn't feel safe. We knew he had Hina in hand. We knew he had Rob Lucci in hand. So this situation, we weren't going to be able to outplay it. So we had to get the double attack in while we can because we knew that he was going to pop our cards, which he did, right? So now with that being done, we have an opportunity of going 5 to face and then dropping our Kaido and making him have to deal with this. Obviously, we push back the Hina and Rob Lucci to hands, right? Which is okay. But we're going to take another card from his hand here. And if we don't here, the following turn, we're going to drop the Law and rip it anyway. I'm hoping he counters out. And if he gives me a 2k or 1k, Borsalino will work too. We drop down the Kaido. He has 6 cards in hand. Both these cards that go back to hand also have no counter. So at this point, I'm assuming he'll have the Rob Lucci, we'll have the Hina. Possibility he's got an Ice Age in there or a what's that other one that he generally uses? Greater Eruption. And all of those have no counter power. So if Kaido happens to live 1 turn, we have the game. Because he can't remove Kaido he can't remove the Kaido and play blockers on the field at the same time. So in this scenario here, he has to have blockers on board to be safe. And considering we are playing Blue Crocodile, what is our leader effect? -4 Dawn. Hey, it's Sabo. Sweet. -4 Dawn. We're going to bounce a blocker to his hand. We swing in with Kaido. He either takes it and loses, or he blocks out with the other blocker. Because remember, we're going to drop the Law here. The Law is going to rip out the life no matter what. And yes, I realize it. There's other music in the background here, and I totally forgot to turn off the music from the other sim. I apologize. For the next video, or not the next video, for the next game, I'll make sure that's off. I like to have on the music when I'm going over the deck list and that sort of thing. I totally forgot to turn it off. I am sorry. I wasn't ignoring it. I was trying to talk over it. I apologize. In any case, back to the game here. He drops down 2 Sabos. He discards a Rob Lucci for the first one. I don't remember the other card he dropped out. I think it was probably the Hina. Let me see. Rob Lucci and Borsalino. All right, cool. So the second Sabo comes down. This is where I think he's going to drop the Hina because it has no counter power. If he decides to keep it, that means he's feeling safe and confident that he can kill the Kaido and win the game. So there's a Houndblaze, right? What else could he possibly have here? He's already seen a lot of 2Ks. Speaking of which, that's a mistake. But we'll see. We'll drop a 2K. Now again, he's got 7 cards in hand. This is why I was saying earlier that I think Law, the 6-drop from blue, is very, very good into this metagame right now. Both Purple Luffy's Purple Luffy, Red Purple Luffy aren't ready for it. Sakazuki's also not ready for it. You got this Law. we have a card like this in yellow called Soul Pocus. Does similar effects. It's very, very good for decks that are pretty defensive, have a lot of 2K counters, and just generally are not ready for it. They run a lot of blockers. This way they have no choice. So now in this situation, we're going to go ahead and -4 Dawn, bounce the Sabo, which gives him the opportunity to draw 2 cards, but he also gets 1K counter in hand, right? So in this scenario here, we're going to go 12K to face, because this way he'll have to block or give me cards in hand. I assume he blocks here. Like, there's no other option for him unless he has a counter in hand. Okay, there he goes. So now we go 9K. And we know he has the counter for this, because we gave him back the Sabo, right? And if he has 2 2Ks, he's safe. That's one. I assume he's got it. Alright, so he has the Sabo. So I'm guessing he's debating on playing the Sabo for the counter or something else here. So we know he has a little bit more counter power in hand. The following turn, if he does not clear one of these units on board, he will lose game. Goes up to 10 Dawn here. He's at 7 cards still. Again, one's a Hina. And he gave me the Sabo, so we at least know 1 card in hand. So we know 1 out of the 6. What would he play to save him face right now? Possibly, he gave us a Borsellino too. So possibly he has another Sabo or Borsellino in hand. But that won't be able to protect him unless he can drop 2 blockers and then protect himself from my leader swing. Alright, so he goes 5 to face. We'll counter out with Kaya here, which gives him 6 cards left in hand because one of them, again, is still a Hina. Speaking of Hina, so he's confident that he can kill the Kaido. So there's a bottom 3,000 worlds. Fine. And a blocker on board. And I believe this is going to be game. So I can do a lot of things here. We can activate Sanji's Pilaf to draw 3 cards, or 2 cards, in hopes that we can get 3,000 worlds, because we haven't seen a single one of those all game. Or we can just straight up -4 to put the Borsellino, or sorry, the Bart back to hand. But doing that gives him the 2K counter. And in that scenario, if we smack him with Law, he has to drop 2 2Ks, and then we just slap on the rest of our cards here on Croc and win the game. Let's see here. Okay, 29 cards left. Alright, fair enough. Let's go ahead and dive into another game. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and dive into another one. Coming at you guys with blue mono Croc playing into a purple Luffy here. We actually got a really good hand this time around, unfortunately. We did not see 3 Missile Sundays, so I'm happy. It's fine, it'll work out. Although we don't have the 3-drop Doflamingo here, which would have been pretty helpful right now, but we do have X-Drake, so... And I think X-Drake gets a little bit more value here, considering the fact that he cannot poly X-Drake. So, let's take this hit. The Soga King, in which might not get value in this match. Kaya off the draw. 5 Dawn active. I think we go 5. And then we'll drop the X-Drake down. Unfortunately, he will be able to remove this Missile Sunday here. He's on top. I want the Red Rock. I definitely want the Red Rock here. He is going into his Poly turn, so Poly will remove the Missile Sunday here. We have X-Drake and 2Ks to defend myself, so we should be fine there. Move up the Missile Sunday, just so she can get back another Red Rock if need be. So there's Poly. Yep. Let's go 6. I can block out here with a 2K, and then we can block Luffy if he decides to attack me. Oh, okay. That was smart. Never mind about that. We can still block, though. Yeah, we can block out and give him the Soga King. Because Soga King's not going to get a lot of value out of this match, I don't think. Let's do that. Get the Red Rock. He goes into, what, 10 Dawn next turn? Let's go 5 here. I doubt... Oh, wow. Okay, never mind. So, in this matchup, I've learned that, again, the 6-drop blue law is pretty solid. And I've also learned that this Crocodile is really, really good here, considering it allows me to have my blue events cost 1 less, but it also gives Luffy no choice but to block my attacks. If he doesn't, we get the banish off, which means if we banish a card, that's less 2Ks that he gets to draw. Cool. Get a Dofi off that. Get a 10-drop Luffy, though. This is going to suck. At least for him, because after we do this, we can just red rock him, and he'll be at a disadvantage unless he starts taking Dawn from his life again. Or sorry, taking, yeah, Dawn from his life. That makes sense. It's all Sunday. All right, let's do the red rock to the Luffy. Bottom deck that. And then, how do I want to play this here? I think we'll go 9K with our 7-drop Crocodile, and then 5K with our leader here. I don't want to play down the Doflamingo. I want to be a little bit more aggressive, I think, here. Yeah, going 9 is pretty good. This will allow me to at least Dragon Twister. What does he do here? Nice. So we rip out a 2K from the trigger, which is pretty nice. We have enough counter to protect Crocodile. 5K coming my way. We'll block this out. We'll block this attack out with X-Drake. As much as I wanted to keep him, Doflamingo is the cheaper option here. Another Luffy. Oh boy. 5K. Let's throw away Dofi here. That might have been a mistake, though. We probably should have just taken that hit, but we'll see. He does get 2 more attacks here. I don't normally see penguins here in this build, so that's a little weird. I mean, it might be a good idea, but it seems strange to me. So he got himself another Luffy. Let's do Dragon Twister. Goes up to 11. And then we'll have to activate Gum Gum Rain, discarding the law. And I think this is game here. Okay, I guess he thought so too. Alright, let's dive into another one. Ooh, this is going to be a fun matchup. We'll keep this hand. We have a nice curve here. We've got 3 2K counters. Dofi, purple Dofi is generally kind of slower, so I didn't really need to be like, you know, be a little bit aggressive on my end. I am a control variant, so I do expect things like a bunch of blockers here if he's playing film. If he's not playing film, this could be a little bit difficult, considering I did not re-roll for like a mulligan or what have you. Or sorry, red rock. We'll see. Go 6K here, then we'll get down our Doflamingo. Start stacking the deck. Usopp could be pretty good, or Sogi King, excuse me. He could be pretty good here. It's a possibility that this might be film, and that way we can just bounce back an Uta to hand. So we'll do, we're at 4 Dawn now. I do want to get an X-Drake to make sure I can see myself on curve here. So we do an X-Drake into a Sogi King, into a Kaido. That might be the play. Okay. Never mind. I don't know what I'm playing against. Yamato, huh? Interesting. Don't know why you wouldn't just play Mech Vice if that's the case. It does the same thing, except for it rests 1 less, but he also has counter power. So, and he's searchable, so I don't know yet. Let's go 6 to face. I don't really want to bottom deck the Yamato just yet, in case he plays something else of relevance here. Alright, let's get him down. We'll stack to 5 here. We'll play it on top. Leave it the way it is for now. We know there's another Dofi there in the stack, and we also have 1 in hand. Okay. There goes a kid. This might be problematic. Yeah, this is going to be an issue. Block out here. So we get Sogeking here. We can't really play Sogeking down because he doesn't hit the kid, and we don't want to give him back to Yamato, so that way he can rest something else on board. Let's go 6k here. See if he'll give me cards first. And if he does, then we'll play 3000 Worlds. Okay, Spiderweb. I'll definitely take that. Remove that. Play down Dofi. So we get a red rock, which is exactly what we need here. A second kid. This is an issue. We get a Crocodile though, it's pretty good. 8k will block out. Go up to 10 Dawn next turn, which could be beneficial for us just to drop the Kaido. But it also would make us take 3 attacks the following turn, and we have to at least Red Rock one of these guys. I think Red Rocking would be the play, otherwise I'll just be taking a lot of damage that I don't want to. I guess we'll Red Rock the active one, doesn't really matter at this point. And then we'll attack his face with our leader. Because there's no way we're going to be able to kill the other one on board. He'll protect that one. I think it's less likely for him to protect himself. Let's go 9 at face then. It just seems like the correct play, right? He's got 2 Dawn active. He'll protect the kid no matter what, so we'll do this. Alright, so he takes the damage, which is good. Especially for us here. But we need to find one more red rock. Not necessarily for the kid here, but for the Dofi. Assuming he does play Dofi in this deck. Going for 9k. Oh, 10k. Sorry, math is hard. Oh, okay, never mind. 10k. We'll block out. So we get a Dragon Twister. Let's deploy Kaya down. Okay, so we get a Dofi and a Mihawk. We knew that was there, remember? Because we set up the cards. So we discard the Crocodile. Go 5 in the Sugar. And now we can set up double blockers again. Which is so good into this matchup because he doesn't have a lot of removal. Yeah, that's enough. We'll drop down the X-Drake. We get the Mihawk and we get the Red Hawk, which is really, really good here. So we will Mihawk the kid and then save the Red Hawk for the 10-drop Dofi, assuming he has it. We have 4 Dawn left to play with here. So now we have active Dawn for Dragon Twister. Okay, another Sugar. Which is still a problem though, right? Because as soon as we drop the Mihawk, she's going to rest that, and he might be able to attack into it by going 15k with Dofi. Perhaps we just block here. And just let it go. I mean, I could Twister and then Dofi, but that's a lot of cards there. If he just goes 8, then we'll Dragon Twister. Nice. Yeah, we'll Dragon Twister here. I cannot bounce back the Sugar, considering she is a 2 cost, but I can bounce back the Kaya to the bottom of the deck here. Which isn't doing a whole lot, but you know, it is what it is. So now he's in trouble. Mihawk will be instantly rested due to Sugar. But we should have enough to at least kill the Sugar on the crackback here. We'll bounce back the kid. There we go. We'll go 6k into this. And if he wants to save it, he has to activate 2 events and/or an event and some counter from hand. Nice. I'm expecting... Yeah, there it is. There's the Dofi. And remember, we have the answer to this because we stacked the deck. Drop the Mihawk here. That way we have the Dofi for afterwards. So let's red rock this. Drop the Dofi on board. Ooh. So we get a Miss All Sunday, which is huge. In case he gets another Dofi. That way we can get the red rock back. And that's not bad. That's not bad. Let's do this. I'll pass turn. Okay. So far, it's a pretty solid deck, you know? I'd say Yamato is a little bit of a stretch, but other than that, some pretty good cards in here, if I do say so myself. Let's go 6k to face. We'll take this hit. We get an X-Drake off that. So now we have to go through the kid in order to actually do damage to Dofi here. Okay, so we get the spider web, which is good, because here's the thing. Considering that we'll have 2 Dawn left over after we play down the Miss All Sunday, this means we can get an attack in with Crocodile for 7k. He has no active Dawn, so he has to give me 4k counter or 3k counter to protect his life here. This is why we decided to go 9 instead of 10k with Mihawk. So there's that. And I could bounce back the Izo with my leader effect, but there's no point. He'll just play it back down and then rest our Doflamingo or our Miss All Sunday. So go 7. That should be guaranteed, which is awesome. We have the Kaido still in case we need it. Oh my goodness, man. Another kid. Little does he know it's really not going to help him in this situation. Alright, we'll block out Miss All Sunday. Take back the Red Rock. We can kill one with Red Rock and then don up the Mihawk to attack into the other one. That'll be 13k. Which, if he does have an event, that will give his kid 13. Or sorry, give his kid 12, and then he'll need another 2k counter. Let's go 9 here again. Okay. Punk Gibson rested my Dofi. That's unfortunate. But it's okay, though. He has no more active Dawn, implying he has no 2k counters in hand here. So we're just going to go 9k into the kid. Nice. That's one. Red Rock the other. Pass turn. I'm pretty sure at this point we got the W. Unless he gets something like another kid off the baby 5 here. Oh, never mind, he can't. My bad, my bad. What am I talking about? Could get Dofi, but he's not going to save him, because he won't live the next turn to be able to use it. Okay. Diamante. Maybe a Rosinante too? No? Okay. 7. Just drop this in the Kaido. No reason not to. Sweet, another Dragon Twister. Alright, let's see. 4 cards in hand, 4 Dawn active. We're gonna do the same old thing. I'm gonna go 9k into baby 5 though. It's probably something he wasn't expecting. But this way he can't just activate an event and activate another event, protect it or whatever. Or he'll feel inclined to block with Diamante, but now he won't. So this should be free. Then I think I can afford to be a little aggressive here. So we'll bottom deck, not bottom deck, we'll return the Diamante back to the hand. So that gives him back a 1k counter. And if I attack with Mihawk, is it worth it? It probably is. But I might have to go more Dawn here. So if I do 10k, this will force him to activate an event and give me a card. Sweet. Let's go in, boys. No, 9k. Gotta have this one, right? Nice. So either that is the Diamante we bounced back, or he had another one in hand. Okay, fair. We've got the Dragon Twister to stay alive here. Unless he decides to... Never mind. Sweet. Alright, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in to the end of the video. I do hope you enjoyed it. Even though we did a little bit of story time in the first match, it was a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun playing Blue Crocodile. Hopefully you guys are too. This is the first iteration of the deck, in which was featured in the last Crocodile video on the channel. The changes that I've made into the following new deck have been a little bit, quote-unquote, drastic. Now, we'll talk about why real quick, and then hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your day. So in this case, we were running the Usops here, the Rush Usops. I do think this is still a good card, and it catches a lot of people off guard. But at the end of the day, into a lot of these matches, like Purple Luffy and Red Purple Luffy, this isn't getting a whole lot of value due to the fact that Red Purple is a 6k leader, and it's less likely to get through due to 6k and a counter. Whereas Purple Luffy, again, brings 12 to 16 2ks, so it's less likely this attack is going to, reach that opponent. In the Sakazuki matchup, this can come in clutch, which is actually really, really good. But be it that we are playing a blue deck, I decided to take this card out and go a little bit more defensive. And it's also the same thing for the Usopp here. I decided to cut one of these. That way we're only running one in the deck instead of going at two. Because at the end of the day, this card does do really, really well. But there aren't a lot of cards in the format in which I want to bounce back to the opponent's hand. Gedetsu being one of them, for instance. Like, every yellow deck runs it. And it's very difficult to deal with, let alone if I bounce it back, they play it back down to get value. So in that case, we just have 3,000 worlds to actually remove it safely. You know what I mean? And then we have a little bit more changes when it comes to Miss All Sunday. I take out one of these just to have three. In that case, I don't start an opening hand off with like 2 or 3 of these in hand. There are moments in which it is a little inconsistent, and you do have multiple Miss All Sundays in the early game when you don't need them, versus seeing more Red Rocks or seeing other removal cards. And speaking of that, we do take down one Mihawk just for the fact that we can fit in some other cards in the deck, such as a 7-drop Crocodile, and we take down some Borsalinos here as well for that nature. But these two cards in late game are pretty detrimental to your opponent, especially the Mihawks. Borsalinos, I don't get so much value versus being in Sakazuki. Being here, I can drop these on yellow decks and red decks and do really, really well. Considering you guys are hitting Sparrow, you're hitting Cracker, you're hitting anything such as Ohm and Holly. This card is very good in that situation. But when it comes to hitting things like Red Purple Luffy, it's a little bit harder considering their big body units. You know what I mean? That's where you need the Mihawk. In any case, let me show you the new iteration of my deck and talk about it real quick. We added in 4 Dragon Twisters due to the fact it gives you survivability, and on a 1 Dawn, you can get 9k power from this if you have a Crocodile on board. Also, the banish effect for this into the Luffy matchup is pretty major. They don't have a lot of removal tools, so they'll pitch a lot of cards from hand to block this attack if possible. If not, we are ripping counter from them off their life that they're not going to be able to use, which is really, really good in that match. We decided to take out 2 Borsalinos, just again to make sure we have room for Dragon Twisters. And we added in 2 Pilafs as well for more consistency. Instead of going 8k attack into like a Katakuri, that way you can just go 5k, hope that they drop a counter card, which is cool, and then do Sanji's Pilaf, something to have on your odd curve, which allows you to draw into more consistent pieces, such as your Doflamingos or your X-Drakes. The blue Kaido is still up and down. It's good in certain matchups that aren't yellow, because most yellow cards you don't want to bounce back to the opponent's hand. The Katakuri, the Ohms, you know what I mean? The Big Moms. Cool, I mean, they spend all of that Dawn to, play that card down, and you can just bounce it back. But in that case, Katakuri heals them again, or Big Mom makes you lose another life. So in those type of deck matchups, it's a little bit inconsistent in value. So this is why I opt to always try to go 10-drop Kaido, the blue one here, this one, the newer one from OPO5, in that match, because it allows you to get more cards, more counters to stay alive. But overall, this has been the new iteration of the deck. I do hope it does well for you. I'm loving it, so I do hope you enjoy it. Either way, this has been Pawseplays. Remember to smash the like button. Make sure you guys subscribe for future content when it comes to One Piece. And I will catch you guys in the very next episode. Stay safe out there. I'll see y'all later.